So welcome to my lecture on atmospheric science. Most of you are well known to me. This is my second course in your total semester up to this third semester. I took your fundamentals of geography, and now this is the course atmospheric science. The course is previously named as meteorology, but later we thought that it should be more appropriate if you can have a dividation between the atmospheric science and and oceanic environment. So atmospheric science and oceanic environment were both together previously, and now we segmented these into two. And another thing is, in meteorological aspects, although we will discuss the same thing in here, but we'll discuss these meteorological aspects in a different process. That means the examples will be dependent on environmental phenomena rather than forestry sector. That's why we are dividing these two courses into two. But few of the chapters, such as dynamic meteorology or thermodynamics, the laws, that can be easily shared between these two groups. So today, what I'm going to do, I'll discuss about the course syllabus and how we are dealing with that. We are going to discuss about that things. So atmospheric science itself determined the phenomena of the atmosphere. Although atmosphere is not only react with only atmosphere, it also have close relationship with the ocean and biological living forms, and also the earth. So basically we are going to discuss what are the impacts, or what are the sources, and what are the different characteristics of atmosphere that can trigger the environmental consequences. We're going to discuss under this chapter. So in this course, previously there was no practical, but I think in your syllabus now you have a practical portion in your syllabus. Am I right? Do you have any practical in this course?
Sir, in our syllabus, it is not mentioned about practical, sir. Sir, there is written theory 50 marks, 2 credits, class test and tutorial 25, and total 75, sir, 3 credit.
No practical?
No, sir, no practical. Nothing is mentioned about practical, sir, there.
Okay, fine. Then it's okay. So previously it was like that, but I think there should be a practical also. But if in your syllabus it is not in there, we try to introduce it maybe in the later of this session. Maybe the new session will get the practical portion. I don't know. Or whatever maybe, the theory is 50, and we are going to discuss about these 50 marks, how it has been distributed among different chapters, and how we are going to deal with that. I am going to discuss that things today. So first of all, the first chapter in your syllabus is atmosphere. Atmosphere. So I think part of this chapter you have already been discussed in your fundamentals of geography. So you know the structure of atmosphere, you know the components and extent, you know the how it has been originated, and many other things. But what we did not discuss in that particular chapters, we can discuss little bit that things in here. For example, how the sunlight and radiation can be balanced in the atmosphere. How different life forms in the atmosphere distributed, and what are their characteristics. And we can also know that what are the air and the circulation pattern of the atmosphere under this chapter. So atmosphere chapter in, for example, in the meteorology course, they might be discussed that about the composition of the atmosphere in their syllabus. But as you already been aware about that particular topics, so we are going to little bit more about the atmospheric phenomena under this chapter. In the second chapter, we are going to discuss about cloud. This is an interesting chapter because most of us is trying to trying to understand that how the cloud can be formed. And then there are different types of classification of classification that prevails the cloud formations. And depending on that classification, cloud can give us the precipitation on that. We can also determine from this particular type of classification. For example, sometimes we can see in the sky that there is a huge amount of the cloud, but after few minutes or after few hours, the cloud has been gone, and then we don't have any rainfall. On the other hand, you can see a small amount of the rainfall at the corner of the sky, and you can get a huge amount of the shower at a time. So this is dependent on the characteristics of cloud. If you just see about this figure, you can see some of the clouds which can be located at the top of the atmosphere. For example, cirrus, or these are the clouds that can easily be identified in your open eyes in a clear sky. So you can see them, you can see this white type of cloud in there, but this cloud will not give you such amount of the rainfall. Sometimes we can also see that ultrastratus cloud in the mid level, or even stratus cloud in the very below level. But these clouds don't give you much of the shower because of the formation process, not formation process, because of the distribution process. And also it depended on the formation process. On the other hand, if you have column-like structure, such as your cloud is developing on the vertical way, normally we do expect a good amount of the rainfall from that type of clouds. For example, cumulonimbus clouds. So it develops on the vertical type of the structure, and it can give us a huge amount of the shower. In this chapter, we're going to also discuss about the formation process, how it has been formed, where it can be formed, what are the different criteria that needs to form a cloud. So there is two things. One is cloud formation, another is precipitation formation. So cloud can be formed through the evaporation of the surface water. On the other hand, precipitation can be formed depending on the altitudes, and depending on the altitudes, the temperature also been varied. So we can expect different types of clouds in different layers. So that is a relationship between the cloud formation and the atmosphere. So we can discuss about, we discussed in our geography class in the first semester, that if you go to the top of your atmosphere, so sometimes the temperature has been dropped down and sometimes it can increase again. So temperature increase and temperature drop down, that also trigger the cloud formation or the precipitation formation. In the later of this chapter, we're going to also discuss about the different types of precipitation. Normally, we do say precipitation is a term which is related with the water formation in the atmosphere that will come to the Earth's surface. But precipitation have different types of classification. So if it is a droplets, we say rainfall. If it is an ice droplets, then sometimes we say this is hail. If it is in a soft like ice structure, we say this is snow. So depending on the nature of the precipitation, we do term differently. We do define it differently. So all this classification we're going to discuss under this cloud chapter. In the next class, we're going to discuss about the dynamic meteorology. So dynamic meteorology deals with the forces which reacting as a single particle, like as an atom. So one droplet of water, or we can say one drop of the a molecule of the air, how it has been reacted or impacted by different forces. Forces can be temperature, forces can be humidity, forces can be many other things. So these forces, how they react on that particle, we can discuss that under different equation. And that equation is termed as equation of motion of the atmosphere. So in the atmosphere, a single particles, how it reacts and how it moves, we are going to discuss about the dynamic meteorology. In dynamic meteorology, normally we don't take the take account as a whole. That means we don't discuss about the full air mass. This is only a portion or a single component of the air mass. And the later of this chapter, a term geotropic wind, we are going to discuss that. It means the wind which is parallel to the isobar. That means in equal pressure, the wind can flow, and that is related to pressure. So how they can flow and what is their characteristics, we are going to discuss in dynamic meteorology. In the same time, in synoptic meteorology, we are going to discuss about the as a whole component of the air mass. What do you mean by air mass? Air mass is a chunk of air which is distributed for several kilometers. It might be 100 kilometers, it might be 500 kilometers, it might be 1,000 kilometers also. And these air mass have the same identification characteristics. That means the characteristics of each of the component of the air mass more or less is same. So it might be possible on air mass which is originated from the Bay of Bengal, it can be distributed from Chittagong to half of the Bangladesh up to Dhaka. It can also be possible the full of Bangladesh is under one air mass component, one air mass characteristics. It might be possible. Sometimes it can be a little bit less amount of the distributing characteristics. Sometimes it might be distributed through a large areas. For example, in case of cyclone formation, couple of cyclones which is generated in the Bay of Bengal or the Indian Ocean, which has a circumference like full of Bangladesh. That means that on air mass have the same characteristics that can cover the full area of Bangladesh. On the other hand, sometimes there are some little amount of the air mass which can give you the different characteristics on the local formations and local based environmental factors. That is not too much big, maybe several kilometers only. So depending on that, we can discuss about the characteristics of the air mass under this synoptic meteorology chapter. On the other hand, it can also be possible to discuss these things, that how two air mass or more than one air mass come together and how they react to one another. For example, one air mass is mixed up, characterized with high temperature. Another air mass which is coming from the north that have the temperature of a little bit lower temperature. And now they come together, they collide together. It might be possible they can go same direction. It might also be possible they can come in against of one another. If it is in against of one another, it is very simple to think about that two air mass come together. But how can it is possible to come in the same direction two air mass? It might be possible because sometimes one air mass is little bit faster than other. If your air mass is characterized with high temperature, it can also possible that it can move little bit faster than the cold air mass. So they come together and then they can be mixed together, or it might also be possible they can only be remain by the side by side and they shows their own characteristics. This is termed as air mass front. We say air front. So we all are going to discuss these all factors will be going to discuss under this chapter. Later of this chapter, we'll also discuss about the few disaster phenomena of our atmospheric science, such as cyclones, that means depression, anticyclones. We are going to also discuss about tornadoes, and then we are also going to discuss about the some source of rainfall which is characterized with electric conversion. So all these things we are going to discuss under this synoptic meteorology. In this chapter, we are not going to discuss any single component, like how a single element can be reacted or can be based on a different equation. So that was going to be discussed in the dynamic meteorology. And then after this chapter, we are going to discuss about the satellite meteorology. Satellite meteorology, as you most of you already been aware about the satellites nowadays, and we are mostly related these meteorology satellite aspects with communication, but satellites can be also be used for our meteorological aspects. That means we can get the images from the satellites, which can also discuss about the meteorological phenomena, that means atmospheric phenomena. For example, if you see this figure, you can see this figure is, these photographs is taken by the satellites. So by the satellites, we can take the images from the top of our atmosphere, and then we can analyze it and we can use it to know the meteorological phenomena. So in this chapter, we are going to discuss about different orbits. We are going to discuss about different types of satellites, how they can differ from one another, and how these images can be easily incorporated in our meteorological aspects. What are the areas we can involve our knowledge? We are not going to discuss it that how the satellite images can be analyzed in here, because that is a big chapter we need, and maybe part of that things will also be going to be discussed in your 4th semester under GIS class, but remote sensing and GIS class. But in this chapter, we're going to find out the openings. What are the different areas we can look upon for our meteorological aspects using the satellite images. Can all of you hear me clearly? Are you okay with my voice?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
If you have any question, you can stop me anytime and you can raise your voice. You can ask me any question anytime. In the next chapter, we're going to discuss about the meteorology and environment. What I did not say, what do you mean by meteorology? Meteorology means the science which is dealing with the environmental factors or earth science. That means in the earth, how the atmospheric phenomena react with other type of components. So that is closely related to our environment. Environmental aspects include natural resources and also some of the resources which is not in a living form. For example, water, air, and different other types of adaptive factors. They all can be included in environmental factors. And with this involvement or the relation, we have found our environment is good or bad. And then the question is, what is the condition of our air? So a term which is gonna used all over the world is air pollution index. That means how much, what is the condition of your air at this time. So in air pollution index, we are going to discuss about different types of parameters of air at a time. That means the index can calculate of different phenomena of air. For example, what is the condition of the particulate matter of the air? What is the condition of the ultraviolet ray in the atmosphere? What is the condition of other things, sulfur dioxide, nitrous oxide? So all these things come together and they ranked it and they place an index so that I can understand that my air is, how much polluted is my air is. We're going to discuss about that things. Every country have the air pollution index, and we are going to discuss about Bangladesh air pollution index. Later of this chapter, we are going to also discuss an interesting topic, weather modification. Although this modification of the weather is not very certain and it is not very established science, it is not an established science, so but it is very interesting. How we can change the weather? Is there any way that we can change little bit? Yes, there are some artificial measures that we can take and we can change our weather little bit. For example, in a place, in a very local way, we have cloud, but there is no precipitation and we cannot expect any precipitation from that type of clouds because we know the nature of the clouds and they will gonna flow from one place to another. But maybe you are badly needed the precipitation in that places and in that particular time. So there are some artificial measures we can just use that to get the rainfall down. That is termed as weather modification. But as I said before, it is not an established science. So every time you are going to do that, it might not act very nicely, and it needs huge amount of the investment. So weather modification is very interesting, and maybe in couple of years or in future, it would be widely used. But at this context, it is not very established knowledge. But we are going to discuss few of them. For example, fog dispersal in the airport. which is very much important in the foggy condition in many busy airport. So during this time, there will be no airplane that can take off, and that is very bothering and problematic for a couple of airport system. So they can use this artificial process to disperse the fog, or as I said, we can get some rainfall from a particular cloud. So we will discuss that things in here. In the last of this topic, we will also discuss about the climate change impacts on terrestrial, coastal, and wetland, because climatic factor is much more related with oceanic environment and atmospheric phenomena. So both of them come together and they impacted on terrestrial coastal area basically and wetlands, and they trigger very badly because the coastal area is much more susceptible of these environmental phenomena such as cyclones, tidal surges, and many others, and wetland also. So we're going to discuss a few of the effects and impacts on this particular type of ecosystem. In the next chapter, we are going to discuss about the global climate change, as climate change is very important aspect and significant topics throughout the world nowadays. So we are going to discuss little bit elaborately in here. I think you have no other courses in your syllabus that directly related with climate change. So what we will do, we are going to discuss global climate change in more elaborately under this chapter. First of all, reconstruction of the past climate. What does it mean? As we said that climate is changing. What is the basis of that? We know that the climate was not before as like this. So how can you know that? What was the condition of the climate in 100,000 years back? How can you know that? 1,000 years back, what was the temperature? What was the precipitation condition? So using the science, using some proxy data, we can reconstruct our climates of that particular time, and then we can say, well, in 1,000 years before or 2,000 years back, the climate was like that, and now the climate is like this. So there is a difference between that two, so that we can say climate is changing. We'll also see the different processes and sources of the climate change and how they react to one another, how it is depending on different conditions. So climate can be changed through internal mechanism or natural process, or climate can also be possible change through artificial process. So we'll see the natural process and the artificial process also. And we'll pinpoint what is the main factor now we need to think about, and how we can control it, how we can manage it. Later of this chapter, we'll also going to discuss few of the phenomena which is related to atmospheric and ocean basin. Not only ocean basin, but also few of the earth surface also. So how the different energy that can be exchanged between atmosphere and ocean, between ocean and ground surface, and ground surface to atmosphere, how they are changing. And these forcing and feedback actually trigger some important phenomena throughout the world. Such important phenomena are North Atlantic Oscillation, El Nino, Atlantic multi-decadal oscillation, Pacific decadal oscillation, many of them. So we're gonna discuss little bit about each of them. And later of this chapter, again, we are going to discuss about I think this global warming and climate change impact, we can come together and discuss about the impacts of them on coastal and wetland ecosystem in the previous chapter. Then in the last chapter, we are going to discuss about the weather forecast system in Bangladesh. Weather forecast system is this is a knowledge which is very interesting for most of the people, and many of the countries which are much more related with the weather forecasting system with their daily lives. But in case of the environmental condition, weather forecast is a must, and every day we are looking for this weather forecast system for many of our planning processes. So how the weather forecast system works, how it can be done, and what are the technologies we should use in this forecast system, and how in Bangladesh we are using this system, what are the different weather forecasting methods we have, and how we disseminate this forecasting knowledge among the users. We can find out those technologies available in Bangladesh and how we can show them in the public domain. In case of Bangladesh Meteorological Department, how they shows this data. In case of other type of important weather forecasting agencies such as UK Met Office, or maybe the USA NOAA, how they shows their weather forecasting, we're going to discuss under this chapter. So all together, we have a combination of weather forecast system, climatological knowledges, and some disaster phenomena, and we have some basic ideas on the atmospheric phenomena. So this is our syllabus we are going to discuss. Is there any question up to now? Do you have any question?
Sir,
Yes, please.
sir, I have a question about weather modification. Sir, doesn't it have any harmful effects on environment? Because we are hindering the spontaneous act of the environment. So, doesn't it have any harmful effects?
Obviously, you should say that because when you wanted to change some natural phenomena, obviously it has some impact. Depending on the nature, what are the things you are going to apply? For example, in case of precipitation formation, we normally use silver iodide. So silver iodide, you can use it to make the making concentration of the cloud, and you can form together. But when it comes to the surface, maybe that will react on the ground. So weather modification is, well, as you said, do you have any harmful effect? So it is not at this moment. There is no direct research on its impacts, but weather modification still is a growing science. So I can expect and I can assure you that if we wanted to change the weather in a great extent, obviously we should use some artificial matters and artificial chemicals, so that it will gonna impact on the ecosystem largely, definitely.
Thank you, sir.
Is there any other question related to this syllabus? Well, I missed one of them, thermodynamics. So atmospheric thermodynamics, there is another chapter. That particular chapter, do you have the syllabus in your hand, Siam?
Yes, sir, I have, sir.
So do you have this chapter in your syllabus, atmospheric thermodynamics?
Yes, sir, at number 2, sir.
Okay, so in this chapter, we are going to discuss about different laws and equations, which is the basic of these knowledges. So we are going to discuss few of the equations which is already been discussed in your earlier classes. In your college, you have already discussed about.
Yes, sir, in physics course, sir.
In physics course also, so you have a lot of knowledges about that. What you did not discuss in there is few of the components of this knowledge and application. For example, I don't know, you discuss about the laws which is related to thermodynamics and act on dry air and moist air, how these laws, different equations react on the different aspects of moist air and dry air. Again, there is another important topic is tephigram. So tephigram is a graph which shows you the cause and effect of different environmental factors, such as your temperature, you have a certain amount of temperature, you have certain amount of the air pressure, you have certain amount of the humidity, and how they come together to give you an understanding what would be the condition of your environment. Is it will be rain? Is it give you the good shower of rain, or you can see a very dry condition, or what would be the condition of your environment? You can understand from a taphogram. It can give you a three-dimensional view of different environmental parameters at a time. So atmospheric thermodynamics will discuss about these laws and their applications, these equations and their applications on atmospheric phenomena. So among these
So what is
chapters,
geopotential height?
yes, also yes. Did you these things also discussed in your physics class? Yes.
I can remember, sir.
Okay, so geopotential means this is the energy which is related to altitudes. So when you are in a state in a particular height, you have a potential energy you have, and how it reacts with the atmospheric phenomena, that we're going to discuss under this chapter. So among different chapters, this chapter, atmospheric thermodynamics and dynamic meteorology, these two chapters will taken by Dr. Shamol, as we are sharing these courses. So Shamol will take only two chapters, atmospheric thermodynamics and dynamic meteorology, and rest of the chapter will be taken by me. So I will take atmosphere, cloud, synaptic meteorology, weather forecasting and satellite meteorology, meteorology and satellite meteorology, and climate change, and the weather forecast system in Bangladesh. So maybe one class test will be taken by Dr. Shamol, and two class tests will be taken by me. And I don't know when I can take it, because online class test is not approved yet. So maybe I should take it later. So we just start our lecture. So what I will do, I'm going to discuss about these things again and again, so that you have a clear understanding, and when we are able to take class test, we will take the class test later. Okay, is it okay for you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so as before in the first semester, the same thing will be in here. What I will do, I will take the classes and you will make a note of the source. So at the this is not a lecture sheet. So what in each of my slides, and the lower side of my slide, lower right side, you will find a source. So you will write the title of this slide. For example, this is introduction of course and sensitization and syllabus. You should write down that one, and in the right side corner of the lower right side corner, you will get the source. You will write them there, and I will provide the source in PDF form to you, so that you can get in-depth knowledge. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and another thing is you can also get substantial knowledge from different other types of references, such as I can share with this book, Meteorology Today, C. Donald Ahrens. You can get some of them, and H.R. Byers, General Meteorology. You can get these books from the IFESCO library. So this is very important important books, and also you can get there are many other types of books in online and in internet, so you can use that things also. I will also share few of the PDF books in your Google Classroom, so that you can also download it and you can get into touch. There are few other websites which is related to weather forecasting system. So you can able to browse it, Met Office UK or Esparso, to understand how they show or distribute their knowledge to the people. So you can also get in touch of that type of websites also. And anything I'll discuss in my class, I'll try to give you the information or the source to you in a PDF form, so that you can get inside knowledge. Is it all okay about you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if you do not have any question, may I ask monitor who are absent today? Can you give me the roll number, please? Only the absent roll number.
Yes, sir. Sir, can you give me a minute to sir check them?
Okay, please. You can give it, or and then you can send it to me through Google Classroom. You can give me the roll numbers also. So you are 28 total, no?
Yes, sir. Total 28, sir.
So you are 23 in here. So you will give me 5 roll numbers. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So can you give me another schedule for class lecture, Siam? Is it possible
Sir,
in
our
Thursday same time? Are you free?
okay, sir. No problem, sir. Sir,
Okay,
none of
so,
our schedule are fixed, sir, in this time.
okay. So what I will do, I will try to catch up you in 2 classes in a week. That might be sufficient at this moment. And if needed, I will increase the class later.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Sir,
so
so it on Thursday, sir.
sorry.
Sir, can it be on Thursday, sir? Then Thursday,
Yes,
11:30.
yes. Same time, Thursday.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so thank you all of you joining me, and hopefully we'll come together on Thursday. Thank you all.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Assalamualaikum, sir.